This is the Friends of Recovery, dedicated to others, setting hearts free. We lift each other, we're living proof. The light is stronger when we know the truth.
All right, and welcome back to the Friends of Recovery podcast. This week, we are joined by Tessa Davidson. I got that right?
You did.
All right, cool. From LEAF, an organization here in Oneonta that also works in the recovery space. And as always as well, Joe. Welcome, Tessa. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about LEAF as a whole. One of my first conversations with you kind of filled me in that Friends of Recovery and LEAF are kind of like sister organizations in their history. Tell us a little bit about LEAF, how long you guys have been around, and kind of what your role has been there.
Sure. So LEAF has been around since 1982, and we started up in Cooperstown, and we made our way down to the big city of Oneonta.
Yeah.
I think it was like late 90s. So what our mission is to prevent substance misuse. We typically do that by going into the schools and talking to kids K through 12 about risk factors, protective factors, healthy coping mechanisms, some of those like anger management and how to find some stress relief. So it's a really fun job. It's sort of the opposite end of the continuum of care for addiction that you guys are on. So you guys are on one side and we're on the other.
They're very complementary kind of ends of the spectrum too for it. Like, you know, but so how did you get started with LEAF? Like when you first got involved in it, had you worked in the recovery or the nonprofit space before? Or was that kind of your initial foray into it?
Yeah. So Julie Dostal, the previous executive director of LEAF, kind of took a chance on me right out of college. So I got my bachelor's degree in public health education up in Brockport. And I came home because I'm from Afton. I was like, I want to like use my degree down here and sort of give back to the community that raised me. And so I walked in and, you know, the rest was history. I started at the bottom at LEAF. I started as a prevention educator. So going into the schools, and then I became the prevention coordinator where I coordinated the schools and like the prevention educators. And then I became the assistant director, and now I'm the ED.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, it's cool. It gives me a unique perspective because I've been in every role, so I can relate to my staff, which is cool.
Yeah.
Now, what are some of the kind of the highlights of each of the different roles that you've been in at the organization? Like, what were some of your favorite parts of kind of each step on the way up?
I would say in the entry level, so as the prevention educator, it was so cool to go into the classrooms.
Yeah.
Kids are so funny. And they just feed off of whatever you give them. And surprisingly, I mean, maybe it's not a surprise to parents, but kids are like thirsty to learn about drugs and alcohol in a healthy way where they can ask questions and not feel like they're being studied or judged.
Yeah.
Yeah. And instead of asking their older brother about vaping, they can ask me. So it was a cool role. I really enjoyed. I would say my favorite grades were like 3rd to 5th graders because they're smart, but they're not too cool for me yet.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have my oldest is about to go into high school, and I think there's nothing I could say that will ever be cool to him again at this point. So that age range is actually very, very special.
Yeah. He'll come back to you.
Yeah,
I trust.
That's the hope, right?
Yeah. And then working up, it was cool. I had school involvement in all of my roles except for the executive director one. So I would say that was always my favorite part. But growing up sort of through this organization, I went through my 20s working at LEAF. I was able to realize how important it is to manage and lead a team.
Yeah.
And I kind of fell in love with the cultivation of my staff and my friends, honestly. So I like being a leader.
Now, what are some of the events throughout the year that LEAF facilitates and runs?
Sure. So during the school year proper, so from September to June, we're pretty solely focused on the kids.
Yeah.
So we're able to loosen up a bit in the summer. I would say that our biggest event is always the art and poetry contest, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah.
We're also really big partners with Hill City Celebrations, and they put on the Festival of Lights in Neowa Park.
Yes.
Yep. So we're friends with them, and we get our hands cold, I guess. I was going to say
Yeah.
dirty, but cold every December. And on top of that, first night, Oneonta. So going to the Foothills and having a big free, alcohol-free event is amazing.
Well, and it's a really good service for the community as well to have that kind of safety, knowing that there is, in fact, something to do on what is a very triggering holiday for many, and that it's going to be a safe, sober space where there's actually some fun stuff going on.
Yeah. Yeah. We always run the blacklight room. So,
Nice.
We'll paint kids with like neon colors on their face, and they go in and they dance, and it's super fun.
Now, tell us a little about the Recovery Art Show. How long has that been going on? And traditionally, that was in Cooperstown, right?
Yes. So when it first started, we would do a week at Kano in Oneonta and a week at the Fenimore in Cooperstown. But I kind of want to pull it back into our community again. Yeah. So it's been solely in Fenimore and Cooperstown for the past 5 or 6 years. And I want to drag it back here, whether it wants to or not. I want Oneontans to sort of show up and feel like it's their event too.
Yeah. So that this year is going to be on September 13th at the Foothills at the end of City of the Hills Fest, right?
Yes. Yes.
And it'll be a free event for anyone to join. Anyone can submit art to it. And what are some of kind of either the key or the main submissions that you guys traditionally see for this event?
Sure. So in the past, we've been a bit looser about our submissions. We've just said, anything that you can relate back to a positive time. And I would say that I want to partner with Fordu, as we have, and I want to make it more recovery, harm reduction, prevention, wellness based again, to sort of hone in on the actual purpose behind this contest.
So people can do paintings, sculpture, written word. There's going to be kind of a poetry slam and mic and everything there as well.
Yep.
Which is very cool. So here at the center, every week we have a day of the week where if people want to request art supplies or journals or whatever they might need to do submissions, they can come in and ask for that. We'll pick it up. And then at Thursdays at 1:30, people can come in and work on it and have access to paints or canvas or modeling clay, really whatever they need. And the submissions are right online, right?
Yeah. We have a Google form, I guess it's called. We have QR codes on all of our posters, and the link is on our Facebook page.
And I'll make sure to put the link in the show notes as well. So if you're listening to this on YouTube or on Spotify, wherever it is, you can go to the show notes and there will be a direct link to the Google form to submit for that.
Perfect.
What are some of the highlights of years past as far as submissions that you've seen, or maybe stories about somebody that really was able to put a lot of their life story into a piece?
Yeah, I would say that the ones that make me feel the most, which art is supposed to sort of do that.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be sort of a tactile, like emotional experience to some people. And I think a lot of healing comes out through a lot of people's art.
I completely agree.
Yeah. So the poetry is what usually gives me goosebumps every year. Like hearing about people's stories or about their experiences watching their parents go through addiction or recovery. It's very cathartic for them. They get a lot of good release, and you can see them up there and they feel so like, they can breathe, and it's okay. And it's okay to share that. So that's the stuff that gets me. Besides that, like the other art mediums are just so beautiful. Like we have such a talented community.
Very much so.
Yeah, we are very, very blessed in that way. I always say, like, I want to buy these paintings. And sometimes they'll kind of high bar you a little bit. They're like 10 grand and you can have it. And it's like, oh my Lord, I work for a nonprofit.
So as far as like some of the other staff at Leaf, is there anyone on the staff that is art or creatively inclined that might be submitting something this year?
Yeah, I don't know if I could convince them to actually do it, but we definitely have a lot of talent. The 2 men on our staff, Brandon and Dan, are very musically inclined.
Okay.
Yes, Brandon's actually in a band. Shout out Tragic Intent. And I would say Kaylee, our assistant director, she is very good at drawing, painting, sculpting, all of the sort of physical,
Okay.
artistic things.
Nice.
Yeah, I am okay at photography on my phone.
Yeah.
I'm really good at that. I would say Nicole's pretty good at that too. So
I am, not to brag or anything, but absolutely killer at stick figures. So if there's a category for that, I'm hoping to clinch that. But
there's no judgment. We love that. I wish I looked like a stick figure.
And around here at the center as well, we have one member in particular, a very, very, very talented painter that both through prison and treatment, like really was able to hone their craft. And I know they've submitted some stuff, so I'm very excited to see how that came out. And I think that just kind of in general, it's a very nice medium to really celebrate some of our additional abilities, especially in multiple modes of this community that are a little bit more separated from kind of the traditional like day in and day out of meetings or treatment or kind of just working on ourselves. So I think it's a very positive event to have that highlights some of the more non-traditional aspects of a lot of the community to show to the public.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. Art and expressing yourself creatively is a healthy coping tool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's good for us to show kids and remind other adults in our community, like, hey, this is something that you could do pretty cheaply, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on the medium, but mud is free. Just
Mud
go
is
outside.
free. That's right.
My toddler makes a mean mud painting.
Okay.
On me, usually. Yeah.
And so for those of you as well that might be maybe hesitant or concerned, because the submissions are online, you do not have to bring in your painting. You can take pictures of it. If there's a really important piece to you that you've potentially made in the past, you take some photos of it, submit it through the Google form. And at the Foothills, which is where this event will be, they, I guess, have some pretty new like ceiling to floor screens that all of this stuff is going to be on. Anyone that arrives can vote for any particular piece that they really enjoy. And there's going to be all sorts of prizes and food. And it should be a very good time at the end of a very cool week here in downtown Oneonta as well.
Yeah, we kind of luckily got that end spot in that week, which was pretty cool.
And a huge shout out to the Foothills for providing that space. And they're awesome.
Yes.
Jeff over there is like absolutely killer.
Yeah, and they donated the space for this event too, which is even like more amazing.
Yeah. Especially at a time where I feel like any space at the end or during that festival is, kind of a little bit of a premium.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So thanks, Jeff.
Yeah. Now, so tell me a little bit about, so throughout the rest of the year, over the summer, what are some of the kind of things that LEAF really kind of focuses on? Is it a lot of prep, getting ready for the school year? Because I'm assuming once, Labor Day weekend hits, you guys have got to be pretty slammed for the next 9 months.
Yeah, exactly. It's feast or famine is what we sort of say. Like we are feasting with the work all through the school year. And in the summer, we do help Hill City with their hometown 4th of July event. Mm-hmm. So down in Neowa Park again, another sober event, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Free, family friendly. Amazing fireworks show. And then it's sort of just a time for our staff to take their PTO.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we're too busy during the school year. So a lot of in and out and a lot of prep work. A lot of like, okay, let's run through this new game that we got that we're going to be teaching the kids. Like, let's all play it together and figure it out. So
what are some of the games you get to play to?
Yeah. So it's funny because they're all like proprietary to our curriculum that we buy.
Yeah.
So it's always like us playing the game to figure out which game it's really like. So it's like, this is a ripoff of Monopoly, or this is a ripoff of Chutes and Ladders. Yeah. So then once we figure that out, we just tell the kids, this is basically Chutes and Ladders, but with prevention messaging.
Right.
So let's go.
Now, are you guys K through 12? Do you kind of hit high schools and stuff as well? Is it full spectrum, or is there really kind of like a majority demographic that Leaf really kind of leans into.
Yeah, I would say that 3rd grade to 8th grade is our sweet spot. The thing about primary prevention means stopping a problem before it ever even starts.
Mhm.
So we want to get to kids and talk to them and teach them before they ever experience using a substance.
Mhm.
Since that's the goal of primary prevention. We will go younger. We'll see the kindergartners, the 1st grade, the 2nd. They're very adorable, but we can't teach them as much as, as we could teach a
Yeah.
3rd and up. And we will go higher, but as you're saying, you have a soon to be high schooler.
Yeah.
The 9th through 12th graders are very smart and almost smarter than me, I think, usually. But they'll challenge you, and if they're going to do something, they've already tried it. So it's hard for us to give primary prevention messaging to kids who are already starting to engage in that sort of behavior. Then it becomes more, what sort of resources can we give to the school to support the students who are struggling?
Yeah. And I know between like nicotine pouches and vapes right now, I assume that has to be kind of a pretty predominant target for that age group.
For sure. Yeah. Nicotine is the new alcohol. Again.
Yeah.
If you see the statistics in our youth behavior risk survey, you can see that we totally tanked on nicotine. And it was like 2% of our kids were using nicotine products. And then Juul came and it's right back up into, the 20% mark.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. The vapes are horrible. They really target the kids with those fruity and some of them have video games right on them.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, really?
It's like Tamagotchi, but you blow into it, literally.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Phone case vapes.
Okay. Yeah, I had not heard of that at all. That is wild.
Yeah. And you'll get them shaped like a Sharpie. So teachers and parents don't even know that their kid has one,
Yeah.
So we'll get a lot of requests like, can you come into our staff day and just talk about what vaping does and maybe show some examples to teachers. So we'll do things like that to help target the older kids.
So what are some of the go-to takeaways, like especially for those listening that might have kids at home and might not be aware that their Sharpie or their phone case is in fact a nicotine delivery device?
Yeah, I would say nicotine is one of the most addictive substances.
Mm-hmm.
It is not easy to get off of. There have been, nicotine's bad for your heart. It's bad for your blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
It increases anxiety in a lot of ways because it is a stimulant. And once your brain is sort of wired in a way where you're addicted to something early on, you're more likely to slip back into that addiction or different addictions as you grow older because your brain isn't developed until you're 25. So if you're sort of hardwiring your brain to be addicted to things, it sets you up in a way that you're more likely to be later.
So I think that's probably the important takeaway where, you know what I mean? I think there's a lot of discussion on which nicotine delivery devices are harmful, which ones are not. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's affecting the brain on a long-term scale that is going to make you significantly more susceptible to other substances down the line.
Exactly.
And it's because at the end of the day, it's all dopamine, delivery, and you're expanding the amount of receptors that you have. And any dopamine addiction is going to be progressive.
Yeah.
So it's very much an important matter that could have some very long-term effects outside of the traditional vaping, very heavy side effects.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll hear reports of kids vaping things and they don't know what they're vaping.
Yeah.
Like they'll have THC in their vape and they won't even know, and it's a kind of a scary world because kids aren't supposed to be buying it. So where are they getting it from?
Right.
We just aren't sure.
Well, and they make them targeted for kids, a lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
So they find a way to get them.
Yeah. New York tried to ban flavors and look what that, look how well that's gone.
Yeah. Has that been banned?
In 2020, when they changed the legal age for using nicotine products from 18 to 21, they also banned flavored nicotine products except for menthol. But look around.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, I assumed that it wasn't illegal at all because it does seem to be pretty
Yeah.
ripe.
Yes, you can buy the banana strawberry or the
Oh, yeah.
whatever flavor.
Yeah. So how they've gotten away with it, you know how Juul, when they first started, is they would have like a pod that you would put inside of the Juul,
Mhm.
and then you'd replace the pod. So the law was written as such as you couldn't do it that way. There was a loophole in one-time use devices. So if your device comes filled with a butt ton of, nicotine liquid,
Yeah.
you could puff on that thing for as long as you want, throw it in the garbage, go
And
get
just buy
another
a new
one. Yeah. So that's like a flavor loophole, and the law hasn't caught up with it.
Wow. And that was 4 years ago.
Oh,
or
yeah.
5 years ago at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for a short time, you didn't see any flavors in the convenience stores until tobacco found this loophole, like, oh, if we do single use vape products, we can sell flavors.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, are there propositions on the table currently to address that? Or is that?
I am unsure.
Gotcha.
I am unsure.
Yeah, that seems like such a simple, like, it doesn't even seem like a loophole. It just seems like it's still just being done flagrantly. But
Yeah.
so in your experience and history with this, what are kind of the predominant ways, especially for parents out there, that kids are getting this? Is it another kid at school that's able to have access through parents or an older sibling that's providing them for other students? Or is it less reputable gas stations and things like that, just actually selling to underage kids?
All of the above, honestly. It's a lot of older brothers, older sisters. I hear often the parents themselves are
Really?
addicted to vaping and see no problem with their kids doing it. That's pretty common. There have been a few hits. There's this really cool tracker. I forgot. It's part of the drug-free communities, tobacco-free communities, excuse me. They have like this online New York State tracker where you can see all of the violations that a store has had for selling to minors for nicotine products. And if you look in this area, I mean, bling, bling,
Oh, yeah.
bling, bling. You see it. And they don't even catch, I mean, I would say 99% of it.
Oh, yeah, I would assume.
I would assume not. I mean, we're in such a college town.
Yeah.
And high schoolers and college kids are vaping, and college kids don't turn 21 until they're juniors. Like, imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's weird. It's kind of a uphill battle, but little by little, the more that we go in and talk to the kids, the more that they can sort of piece it together. Like, okay, yes, maybe this isn't as bad as smoking cigarettes. And also there are much healthier options than vaping. Like,
Right.
Let's just not do that.
Well, then I know too, like at the gas station level, for the individual selling it to someone or just not IDing them, like the penalties, like jail time and a $10,000 fine.
Yeah.
And not for the company itself, but for the actual individual that does that.
Wow. I didn't know
And
that.
yeah, I was talking to somebody at one of our local places the other day, and he had ID'd 3 people in a row, and they were giving him like a whole bunch of crap for it. And they're like, I'm obviously not, even under 40. Like, why are you IDing me? And he's like, if I don't, I can go to jail for 3 years. It's a $10,000 or $15,000 fine for me. The company doesn't pay for it. I get fired. I go to jail, and I get a pretty nasty fine. But obviously, it's
Crazy.
still very rampant anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know that part. That's crazy. And it's like, that stinks. The person who's working for a low wage job is
Correct.
is on the line.
It feels very predatory in that
Yes.
aspect, that they're the one that is responsible when it should be a training or kind of a corporate standard.
Yeah, I don't love that.
But
Love that. Just scan the IDs. Like, why haven't we gotten to a point where you can just scan your license? There's literally a barcode on it.
correct.
Like, can we just scan that before we buy things?
Right.
And then no one has to be in trouble?
And I know that there's issues, I guess, with the real IDs. There's 2 different barcodes on it.
Oh,
and if you
Lord.
scan one, it's the right one. And if you scan the other one, it's I guess, creates all sorts of issues in their system. But
Classic.
yeah, just kind of, the standard issue stuff. But Tessa, thank you so much for stopping by. We're
Yeah.
very excited about the Recovery and Art Show in September. That's September 13th at 5 p.m. I want to say. Yes, 5 to 8.
Yes. Yes.
And the submission form is a Google form. So you can take pictures of your art, of your sculpture, of really whatever you need to. And you can submit your poetry that way as well. It's going to be an absolutely great time. And we hope to see a lot of people there.
Yeah.
In addition to that, we also have the recovery ride on August 2nd. So anyone with a bike, or even if you don't have a bike, there's going to be a run that goes from Oneonta, and I always get this wrong. I think I'm going to get it right this time.
Delhi.
To Delhi, thank you. Then to the Norwich Center, then back here to Oneonta. When we get back here, there's going to be food, there's going to be music, there's going to be a great time. We're going to have a bunch of stuff to give away that we're working on right now. Great tie-dye shirts.
Yeah.
And this is the second annual
Freedom Ride for Recovery.
Awesome.
And then Labor Day weekend is the Rothenberger Run in Newa Park. That gets bigger and bigger every year. It's going to be an absolutely great time. So make sure to check out fordo.org.
I'm winning this year. Training hard.
Is it a hard run or like a walk?
I think there's 3 different levels.
Yes.
Okay.
So you can kind of.
You can walk if you want.
Thank you. I love that for me.
I mean, that's going to be my speed as well.
We can
is
walk
walking.
together,
Yeah,
Tim.
Absolutely. And as always, what is Leaf's website if people want to find out more, or on Facebook as well?
Yeah. So our website is leafinc.org. And our Facebook is the Leaf Council on Alcoholism and Addictions.
Great. Well, thank you so much again. And all that information, all those links will be in the show notes if you're interested in learning more. And make sure to show up to the art and poetry contest at the Foothills in Oneonta at the end of City of the Hills on September 13th at 5 p.m. Until then, we'll see you guys next time.